With the way how Auburn fans had to deal with the officials in the SEC robbing them of a win, their hearts were also just taken out of their chest with the announcement of Bruce Pearl's retirement. And I may be an Alabama fan, so you can discredit my word on this or not. But I think Bruce Pearl was a little bit overrated. If you want to talk to me more about that, sorry, this is football, not college basketball. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College Football Under Review. I'm your host, Nick Watts. This is a show made by a fan for football fans everywhere, and today we have our Week 5 preview episode. Now, let's take some college football under review. And one thing I have to say is that it's going to be one of the best slates this season of college football. So we had to bring on a great guest because of this fact. And for this Week 5 preview, I want to welcome a very, very good friend of the show, Brian Edwards, editor of MajorWager.com, member of the Southeastern 16 podcast on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Now, how has this college football season been for you so far, just in general?
Oh man, it's been excellent. Let's see, my picks on Vegas Insider are I was 13-6 going into last week. I had my first bad Saturday. I went 2-5, so that makes it now 15-11. But we're still making a profit. We've been doing really well in NFL as well. And I'm feeling pretty good about a 90-1 Haynes King Heisman ticket that I'm holding and a Georgia Tech season win total over 7.5 ticket that I'm holding. So I've got a few bets out there that I'm feeling pretty good about. Not so much on my Clemson to win the ACC bet. That's one I'll be ripping up pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was going to get that one at this point.
Right. But it's gone well. Obviously disappointing for my Gators with a 1-3 record, but that's kind of a win-lose situation because we can get Billy Napier out of there.
I think a lot of Florida fans want to get Billy Napier out of there as well, so I think you're just singing all their praises for you. But one of the reasons we got you on the show is, one, you're a great friend of the show. Love seeing you out and about around 30A. But you are quite the better. I think every time I see you out, the two questions I ask are, hey, how are you doing? And two, how are your bets going?
Right. Well, those are two of my favorite questions to answer, and I've usually got a little action going whenever we do see each other at McTy's or wherever. My bets are going pretty good. Now, last week, so the two Saturdays before that, one I went 5-0, and one I went 4-1. But then 2-5 last week was no bueno, and then 3-3 on Sunday. But I had to get the miracle win on the Eagles. I know this is a college show, but I'm sure everybody saw that miracle.
We're an
cover.
Eagles fan on this show,
okay,
so we're perfectly okay with this.
Okay, well then keep betting Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown every game. It's hit 6 in a row. It's minus 140 this week. But I was going to be 2-4 in NFL, but the Eagles got me that miracle cover.
So for sports betting, I personally don't sports bet as of now. So if me, someone who's completely dry, never touched it, what are some like early tips or warning signs that you would kind of give to someone like me as a first-time bettor?
Well, I would say to put a lot of emphasis on quarterback play and head coaches. Like if you think you have two even teams, like let's say Alabama and Georgia this weekend, but you think that Stockton and Kirby, or you have the advantage with Stockton over Simpson, and you have I'm just throwing this out as an example. I'm not saying that's how I feel, but if you feel you have an advantage with Kirby over DeBoer and Stockton over Simpson, then you would go with Georgia. Now, that's just kind of something I would tell the early, casuals, but once you get kind of hardcore about it, injury situations are enormous. Situational factors are big. Like I can give you a couple good examples. Like this week, the situational factor that I think is probably the biggest out there is in the A&M Auburn game. I mean, A&M has come off an open date. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, whereas Auburn, not only are they coming off a heartbreaker and then one kind of, that stung with the officiating and the SEC releasing, the press release after the game. And now, that was on the road, had to get on an airplane, go back to the plains. Now you got to get on an airplane again. You got to travel west again. And so all those situational factors, while they were playing that 60-minute war with Oklahoma, A&M was sitting in the AC, eating popcorn and watching their game and getting ready for them to play. And then they had to get on an airplane back to Auburn. And then they got to get on an airplane again. So that's another. And then I'll give you another example for your Crimson Tide. It is a awful, awful spot for Alabama when they have to go to Missouri here in a few weeks. And the reasons why are Missouri is going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Alabama, and that's after they have an easy game with UMass at home tomorrow, or I'm sorry, here in week 5. And Alabama's going to be coming off, a rivalry game against Georgia that they're gunning for, where both teams had 2 weeks to prepare, and then the ultimate revenge game with Vandy after one of the more embarrassing losses in recent memory, probably since ULM, Saban's first year in 07. So, these are 2 games Bama's gunning for big time, at Georgia and Vandy at home. And after both of those having to be sky high for that, and you've got a rivalry game with Tennessee that's kind of the look ahead post Missouri. So situational factors favor Missouri against Bama. They favor A&M against Auburn this week. So those are some things. Now, in terms of like how I go about making my lines, or how I kind of start my process. So sometimes I'll do it on Sunday morning. Sometimes I'll get it done maybe on Friday afternoon. Is I'll start looking ahead to the games the next week, and I'll write my numbers down. So, for instance, I wrote Georgia -3.5. I think this was last Friday afternoon. I wrote Ole Miss -1, A&M -4.5 to Auburn, Vols -10 to Mississippi State. So then, et cetera, et cetera. And then I will go back and look, okay, did I miss any injuries? Did I, what am I potentially missing, or am I upgrading a team by how they played on Saturday, or am I downgrading a team because I didn't think they played as good? Like, I actually upgraded Auburn. I was impressed with Auburn last week. They need to force feed Cam Coleman. I mean, he needs 15 targets a game. He is a mismatch. I mean, I don't care if he's double or triple team.
Yeah, no, Auburn's wide receiver core has been touted as one of the best in the SEC, and they have not lived up to that expectation this season, that it seems like.
No, and now that we know that Mateer was hurt, makes it, all the more the opportunity that they had. But I mean, they did get some calls go the wrong way. But anyway, back to making my own numbers. So what I want so let's say that I made Georgia -7, okay, and the line is 3. Well, if that means I think Georgia's going to win by a touchdown, but the line is only 3. So I would be looking to bet Georgia in that situation. So my lines are usually very, very close, within a point and a half, or right on. Now here's one that's not. South Carolina, I wrote down 9.5 or 10 at home to Kentucky, and it's 5.5 now. It's been 6.5 most of the week. So that's one of the reasons I'm on South. So in other words, I want my number to be a lot different than the actual number. So I've got Notre Dame -4 to Arkansas. It's 4.5. So that's a game I don't want to.
So let's take a look at that Kentucky at South Carolina. So how did you, kind of take us a step by step of, okay, I've got Kentucky against South Carolina. How do you kind of get that your number set, and then compare it to anywhere on FanDuel, MGM,
Right.
Hard Rock?
Yeah, so I think my number is higher because I put a lot of stock into young quarterbacks making their first career road start. So Cutter Boley for Kentucky. He started a couple of games. He started Louisville at home late last year, and he started Eastern Michigan a couple of weeks ago. But he has never made this is his first career start on the road, and it's at night. And South Carolina. Now I will, because I don't want to talk out of two sides of my mouth, because I was talking about situational advantages. Kentucky has had 2 weeks to prepare, so that's good for them. But I think starting the young quarterback in the raucous environment that is Williams-Brice Stadium, I think that takes, I put more emphasis on that than Kentucky having 2 weeks to prepare. So I think Boley's going to make mistakes. And another thing is, I thought, South Carolina, they went into last week's game having only scored 5 offensive touchdowns. They had 3 punt returns for touchdown and a defensive scoop and score. But Lenore Sellers played a lot better. He threw for 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. They had some of their young receivers step up and make plays. So I was encouraged, even in defeat. I mean, they had the lead at Missouri in the fourth quarter. I'm really high on Missouri, by the way. And they had the lead in the fourth quarter of that game. So I was impressed by South Carolina last week. And this is a desperation game for them. They have to have this game.
Agreed.
Because they don't have any easy games left. Not that this is necessarily an easy game. I mean, obviously, it's a single-digit spread. But I like South Carolina. It's one of my favorite picks this week.
Okay. And then another interesting question I had for you as someone who doesn't bet, is there a specific kind of game average or baseline stat that you kind of look at before you make a bet on a team, whether that's money line, over, under, or, the spread?
Well, I'm always looking for, not only evaluating a team, but that they have ways, so many different ways to bet teams now, that I'm also evaluating units. Like, for example, I think Arkansas's defense is horrible, but I think their offense is dynamite. And I know they only scored 31 against Memphis last week, but they should have scored 45-48. They fumbled inside the 10. They threw an interception at Memphis' 22. Taylor Green took a 9-yard sack to take them out of field goal range. That was all just in the second half. So how you can do that, like if you find a defense that you like a lot, you can take the team total for let's say it's, I'm trying to think of who's playing great defense right now. Well, let's say Florida's playing great defense right now. So let's say Texas has a super high team total next week in Gainesville. You can maybe look to play the under on Tech now. So the way I'm attacking it with Notre Dame and Arkansas this week is I'm playing Arkansas's team total over 29.5. So they've scored 52, 56, 35, and 31 in their first 4. But again, like I said, the 31 should have been at least 45 last week. And Bobby Petrino is one of the best play callers in the country. They are 8th in the nation in yards per game with 552, and they're 15th in scoring, 44 points per game average. And Notre Dame, who I thought was going to have one of the better defenses in the country, they're ranked 118 in the country in scoring D, giving up an average of 32.7. And they gave up 30 at home to Purdue. And obviously we know they gave up 41 to A&M a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's very interesting to look at. I like to see that you're not only just taking a specific stat, but an entire side of the field to help you make your bets.
Because a lot of times, I mean, you have a team where you're like, oh man, I love their offense, but goodness, I hate their defense. And that's Arkansas in a nutshell right now. Mm-hmm. And you can find that with a lot of teams.
Futures. I know I've heard out there, you don't take futures, you do take futures. I know some people are like, don't take the futures. It's just money that's sitting there. You're not going to be able to bet it on something else. Some people say, take the future. If you know what you're talking about, you're going to have the payout that's worth it if you know what you're talking about. But do you like to partake in futures, or is it kind of like a love-hate relationship you have with them?
I've gotten a lot more into futures here in the last 4 or 5 years. I used to not really be that into it. I was more just like a season win total guy, going under or over. But last year when the Gators, and I'm just switching to hoops here briefly, but when they got off to like a 5-0, 6-0 start, I was like, man, I like this team. And then they were 35-1 to win it all. And I put some on that, and I won that. And then in the SEC tournament, they were like plus 300 to win the SEC tournament. I was supremely confident that we were going to win the tournament and deal out pimp slaps the whole way through, and that's exactly what we did. And then I didn't see a market for most outstanding player of the Final Four until going into the Sweet 16. So unfortunately, Walter Clayton was down to 6-1 odds, whereas before the tournament, I bet he would have been 20-1. Anyway, I bet that 6-1, and so that's worked out. As far as future tickets that I have alive right now, well, I told you the Clemson win the ACC is practically dead. I do have LSU at 21-1 to win the CFP. I have Buffalo at plus 550. To win the MAC. Their quarterback is not playing this week. They've only played one MAC game, and they didn't look good, but they beat Kent State. They had to rally, and Kent State's one of the worst teams in the country. So I don't feel great about that one. And I think I mentioned Haynes King, 90-1, and I have Sawyer Robertson, 80-1 to win the Heisman. And I have a Lagway ticket to win the Heisman, which I can go ahead and rip that one up.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say that it's not going to get there.
Yeah, that one's not going to get there. Oh, and here's the one that actually, gosh, I don't know why I'm just now thinking of this. Actually, might be my favorite one because I think Haynes King's got a chance. Because if you look at Georgia Tech's schedule until the Georgia game, unless they have a lot of injuries, they're going to be favored every game, and as long as they're undefeated, I think he'll be in the mix, but it's still going to take a lot for him to win the Heisman. The one I'm feeling probably even better about is Iowa State at 13-1 to win the Big 12. Now, they got a lot of work to do, and I'm not even saying I think they're the best team in the Big 12, but at 13-1, that's a ticket I'm glad I've got right now.
Especially with Rocco Becht and the leadership that he provides for that team, I definitely think that is a confident bet you've got in your pocket there for the Big 12. I think they'll definitely make it back to the Big 12 championship game with the season that they are having. And with that Buffalo pick, we picked Buffalo. We had the MAC title game, I believe. We chose Buffalo and Toledo to be in that conference championship game preseason.
That's probably who I would have picked, and I had both of those teams in week one, and they both covered barely. Now, in fact, actually, and for those listening that might say, no, they didn't. Well, I got Toledo at plus 11.5 early in the summer. That line actually moved to 7.5. And so some people may have won Kentucky bets minus 7.5 because I think they won by 8, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a winner for me. So just to clarify.
And so coming into this preseason with your Heisman, tickets, did you? I personally feel like that there's a certain aroma in the air that a quarterback's going to win the Heisman this year, especially after someone like Travis Hunter, who was a dual threat player in both sides, being a defensive player and a wide receiver. I think there's a little voter fatigue in that, and they want to go back to a quarterback. But I brought this up to you earlier before the show. How do you feel about Amon Hardy? Because every year that ends with a 5, since the Heisman Trophy has been given out, a fullback or running back has won the Heisman since its inception in a year that ends with 5.
Well, I don't know what I saw him at 50-1. What numbers have you been seeing for him? Because he is an absolute monster, and Missouri is one of the. So when I'm not too sure about a quarterback, I don't try to fall in love with a preseason opinion that I have. And even just the first game, I know it was an FCS opponent, but I was very impressed with Bo Prabula's arm, his accuracy, and then in week 3, one of my biggest bets of the year was Missouri's team total to go over 37.5 because I was so impressed with the offense the first couple of weeks. And they got 38 before halftime. That was what we call a rocking chair winner before halftime. And so I'm very high on this. Now, I will say I've lost a Missouri first half bet against South Carolina last week. That was unfortunate. And I lost a first quarter bet on them because I was starting to get really aggressive with Mizzou last week. But I also had Ahmad Hardy over 88.5 rushing yards last week, and I won that. So I like your thinking with Ahmad Hardy. He is a beast. and he's got a lot of showcase games coming up against your
Yes.
Crimson Tide being one of them. And now they'll probably get him out of the game this week against UMass pretty early, but hopefully they'll let him get about $1.30.
Yeah,
or so
I'm
first.
thinking I think Eli's going to get him as 100, maybe a touchdown, and just let him go on his way. He needs to be healthy for what they have coming up in their schedule. Not as tough as some of the other SEC teams, because some of the other SEC teams have gauntlets like my Tide.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma, the Tide, we got gauntlets that we got to
Florida.
go through. Yeah. It's more or less like a graveyard for Florida, I would say, instead of a gauntlet.
Yeah, it's not easy. That's for sure, brother.
And before we get into some of our SEC talk, is there any other kind of last throw out things you would like to say when it does come to first time sports bettors?
You always want to get the best line. And what I mean by that is, and sometimes it's hard to predict, but like if you've got a chance to get like for instance, I got a clean 3 on the Rams earlier in the week, and now it's 3.5. I don't know if any. I'm sorry, I went NFL on you there. All right, let me try to think of a college line, but as I'm scrolling through here, but or like for example, I don't think this is a great example, but I'm trying to look for games where the line has moved a lot, and yeah, I'm not really finding anything, but so like let's say, all right, so right now A&M is 6.5 to Auburn, and if you like A&M, you need to be betting it at 6.5, because if it moves to 7.5, that's going through a key number, key numbers being 3, 7, 10, 14, 17, 21, et cetera. You wouldn't want to bet it at 7.5. So you want to get the best of the number. And, sometimes you might want to buy a half point to a key number. Like if you're a 9.5 point underdog, maybe pay a little bit of extra juice to get it to 10, because it's such a common number that it hits. What else? You want to get the best of the number. You want to be on top of injuries. You gotta know if you're starting right guard and starting right tackle are both out this weekend,
Or if your starting quarterback is going to get hand surgery next week.
Yes, you need these things of this nature are quite important. Yeah, you got to be on top of injuries, and there's a lot of good places where you can find injuries on my Twitter account at Vegas B Edwards, but RotoWire, they are really good with injuries. They have like a Twitter account for pro sports, Underdog, like it's just Underdog, and then NBA or Underdog, NFL, et cetera, et cetera. They're NBA and NHL, et cetera. They're really good with injuries on Twitter. But yeah, injuries are very important.
All right. So you are part of the Southeastern 16, and y'all talk all things SEC, it seems like, the majority of the time. And I know you're a Gator fan, and Billy Napier seems to be slowly on the way out. And I saw your tweet, and we'll throw it up if you're watching on YouTube, about the top candidates you have, or at least the ones you would like to see for the job. And I thought I'd just give you some that you didn't have on your list, and you can tell me what you think. I'm just going to throw out some names here because I know Urban did have a little coach talk, as you said, about they can't pay his buyout, and they're going to, wait a little bit for that. But the first one I'm going to say, and I think this guy's really hot coming into the season, especially what he's done at Oklahoma, and that's Oklahoma's offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle.
Yeah, no, he's done a heck of a job so far. There's no question about it, and he's a coach on the rise. I just think at this point, Florida has to get a proven, established guy who's had big time success at the Power 4 level, and so I think that eliminates every single coordinator candidate. The two guys that Florida, Muschamp was the coach in waiting for Mac Brown at Texas when we got him, but he didn't have any head coaching experience. Now, look, unlike most Gators, I love Muschamp, and he had a lot of bad luck injury-wise. I mean, he he went 11-1 in the regular season in year 2, and in year 1 we would have had a lot better record, but his starting quarterback John Brantley got hurt in the Alabama game when it was a 1-possession game, and we were 4-0 going into that game, and then he was out until the Georgia game. In the Georgia game, he had his right leg wrapped like he looked like he had 2 legs. I mean, he should not have been out there playing. So that kind of ruined year 1. Year 2, 11-1 in the regular season, ended up losing to Bridgewater and Louisville in the Sugar Bowl. And then year 3, we lost like 12 starters to season-ending injuries, and we were down to a third-string quarterback with 2 guys out for the year by like late October. So I like Muschamp, but it didn't work out in the long run. And why did I get on this rant? Oh, because he was first-time head coach. Yeah. So anyhow, I just think we have to have a proven head coach. I mean, and then we got Sunbelt Billy, who did not have head coaching in a power conference, and neither did Jim McElwain. McElwain had only coached at Colorado State, a G5. So, I think we have to have for sure a power 4 guy, no doubt about it, with proven track record that's done well.
Okay, so then that takes out my second one, Miami defensive coordinator Corey Heatherman. I just like what he's presented there at Miami. So, Ixnay. Brian doesn't like any coordinators, but I think one realistic one, someone that left for more money and someone who seems to be having lightning success, head coach Willie Fritz at Houston.
Yeah, I love Willie Fritz. I bet on him a lot. Bet on him against Colorado a couple of weeks ago. Bet on him a lot at Tulane. I'm a huge Willie Fritz fan, and I'm not looking at his age right now, but I want to say he's in the mid 60s. And what is this, year 2 at Houston?
Yes.
So I can't say for sure, and money always talks, but let's see. So I can get his age right here. He's 65. Well, I think that's around where Cignetti is.
Yeah.
And I have Cignetti number 3. I'm not gonna say anything bad about Willie Fritz. I love Willie Fritz. I just don't know that the fit is going to be there.
Is there. And we've seen in the SEC, if your head coach doesn't fit your program, it's already to a rocky start. I think that's very much the case with DeBoer at Alabama and Brian Kelly at LSU.
Yeah, that was the only thing with Kelly that I had. I was like, I don't know about the cultural fit, but I was like, but anybody that questions his ball coaching ability is just a fool. He's a heck of a coach. I think it's worked out okay so far. They just got to keep winning. I mean, he overachieved big time that year 1, and was the 1 year they should have won the Natty if they had a defense. They had their worst defense in like 30 years, or they would have easily won the Natty. It's kind of like reminded me of the Gators in 2020 when we lost to your guys in Atlanta in that epic SEC championship game.
Great game.
I was there. That was the only game I went to all year. It was a fantastic game. And that was one of the worst defenses we've thrown out there in like 30 years. So remind me what I was talking about.
We were just talking about head coaches not fitting at their program.
Right. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, man, if LSU, if it goes south on them and they want to fire him, I would not mind having Brian Kelly whatsoever.
Okay. How about rekindling a past love with Dan Mullen? He's got some heart attack kids up at UNLV right now that every time I watch them, I just don't know how they come out with the win.
Right. They really had to come back last week. Good for Mully. That ship sailed with him and Scott Strickland. There was rumors that they didn't really get along that great at Mississippi State. And when Strickland struck out on his first few attempts on that coaching search, he eventually went to Mullen. And but they fell out bad at the end. I don't think you'll see them having dinner together ever again. And I certainly don't see him being rehired.
Does it go all the way back to the shoe throw?
No. Well, You know,
A lot of people say that was the catalyst.
Right,
That was
yeah.
when the tower, the
Yeah.
castle walls kind of fell.
Yeah, Marco, what were you doing that day, Marco? And then like Marco the next week at the aforementioned epic SEC championship game, just to get out of the doghouse and make things up for his teammates. He was targeted like 10 times, and it was like 10 catches for like 260, and he had like 3 touchdowns and 7 missed tackles. I mean, the guy could not have played worse the next game, and then he opted out of the bowl game.
Yeah. Okay, and then I'm going to give this I've got 2 more, but I think this other one is realistic. The head coach for Temple, Casey Keeler, I've looked at his he has come up from the very bottom, and everywhere he has gone, he has slowly worked his way up and won at every level, except he hasn't won, amazingly in power in Division I football yet. But he's been to a lot of kind of had the same track that Brian Kelly and Kalen DeBoer have had of slowly coming up through, Division II, FCS, and all those ranks and winning at all of those levels. So I know it's kind of a long shot out there, and he just got his run at Temple going. But I thought I'd hear your thoughts on that one.
Oh, this is the guy that was at Sam Houston last year. Well, I was impressed with Sam Houston in its first year in FBS last year. I was surprised that, they got to, that was their first year in FBS. They went 9-3. So yeah, no, now I know who you're talking about. I think this guy's good, no doubt, but I don't think he's ready quite yet to be the captain of this great big old battle. Oh, and he's 66, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. Nothing against the guy, dude can coach, but I'm not thinking that's
Okay, so off of the Florida head coach, who do you see kind of coming out? It seems like you really favor LSU to win the SEC and win the conference. Is that what you're leaning towards?
Well, when I made that future bet, that was back in August. Obviously they're undefeated, so I kind of like Ole Miss this week. So we'll see. But it's the spread's 1.5. We'll see how it goes. I just don't think that LSU's wins over Clemson and Florida are aging well. We didn't expect to be in late September and talking about how Clemson and Florida were 2-6 combined, both sporting dreadful 1-3 records. So we'll find out a lot more about LSU's highly touted defense this weekend, because Clemson and Florida have not been scoring many touchdowns here lately. So Ole Miss has with Trinidad Chambliss, and we'll see. We'll learn a lot more about LSU's defense. And really, Florida moved the ball up and down the field on LSU. They just had Lagway throw the 5 picks.
Yeah. And then with the SEC, John Mateer, we put out our Fog of War kind of takeaways on all our social media. And as soon as we put that out, I think like 2 hours later, the John Mateer news came out, and we had him as our favorite to win the Heisman after week 4. And you reported that his odds have dropped out of favor. But do you think he still can win the Heisman? And do you think he will be game ready for Texas in 2 weeks?
Well, we'll see on that. And so what, he had surgery yesterday. Yeah. We'll just we'll see what how his recovery is going. But I saw 100-1 at FanDuel yesterday, and I was on the Chris Vernon show in Memphis earlier today. They used BetMGM, and they were seeing 80-1. And I made a case. I was like, guys, at that number, that seems like a play. And Chris Vernon, it's his show. He absolutely took a number 2 on that idea. However, I got some support from his cohort, John Roser. So let's bring up Oklahoma's schedule. So I mean, I think the chance. So that he got hurt at the perfect time.
Yeah, no, it's the gauntlet. They got screwed when it came to Oklahoma and Texas coming in. Texas got the cupcake. Here you
Yes.
go, little darling.
Right.
Go to the SEC championship.
Right, exactly. But they have the open date this week, and then they've got Kent State next week. I mean, I would say the chances of playing against Texas are pretty doubtful. But I mean, modern medicine, they have needles and they shoot things into your hand that make your hand feel good.
He's going to be going into that medical tent a lot.
I don't know, but let's just say that he can't play that game and they lose that game. All right. Let's say he can't play October 18th at South Carolina, but Michael Hawkins leads them to a victory. So they would be sitting there at 6-1 with a home game against Ole Miss on October 25th. He had surgery on September 24th. So I don't think it's unrealistic to say that he can be back and maybe even fairly close to 100% for Ole Miss. That gives him, all right, first off, they're only a one-loss team at that point, and the loss was without him.
Yes.
Okay. And with this schedule, I literally think that they can go 9-3, and depending on how everything shakes out everywhere else, I think with this schedule, they can go to the playoff 9-3. So he's back for Ole Miss at home, and then at Tennessee, and then at Alabama, where Alabama's seeking revenge, and then Missouri at home and LSU at home. So those are all five of those teams, I think, are going to be in the top 15.
And probably playoff contenders as well.
And all in the mix for the playoff and the SEC championship game. And so he's got 5 games to A, lead them to victories, B, post stats. I don't think anybody's going to run away with this Heisman. I don't think anybody's going to run away with the SEC. I think it's as wide open as it's been in forever. I think the Heisman race is normally pretty wide open in late September, but I'm not against throwing a very small bet on him at 80-1 or 100-1 right now. I think he can still win the Heisman.
Okay. Do you think it will drop off any more before the Texas game, or do you think it will probably stay the same?
If there are reports coming out that he,
his practice
might get back for Texas, I could see it going down to like 50 or maybe way less than that. I mean, if people think, that would only have him missing 1 game. So maybe it goes all the way. Who knows? Yes. Heisman odds are very, very fluid. I remember early in the fourth quarter of the Texas-Ohio State game, Arch had gone from the like plus 650 favorite to like 18-1 by early fourth quarter. I mean, these things change very, very quickly, and all kind of little factors can lead to that.
Yeah. And we're going to, I'll microscope this question on the SEC, and then we'll broaden it out a little bit. But on our show, we call weeks 1 through 4 the kind of fog of war phase of the season, where these teams will eventually play, hopefully, one tough game and showcase their talent, and we'll kind of see how the preseason expectations fit them. Now that we're reaching the gauntlet, some teams are going to go through tough conference schedules, and the SEC could beat up each other come playoff time. But is there any SEC teams that you think could have a backdoor slide in because of if SEC teams end up beating each other up?
Well, I think Missouri's got a pretty good path. Like I mentioned, the situational factors that favor them when Alabama comes to town. Alabama's going to be coming off playing Georgia 2 weeks before and playing a big revenge game with Vandy. So they get Alabama at home. Right now, this is before I get to see, we learn a lot more about Alabama on Saturday in Athens. But right now, I would, if I had to, gun to the head, if I had to pick who wins that game, right now I'm going to say Missouri. Okay. So let's say they win that. That would make them, 5-0. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that would make them 6-0 and 2-0 in the SEC. And then at Auburn and at Vandy. Let's just say they split those. So that would make them 7-1 and 3-1 in the SEC. I like them to beat A&M and Mississippi State at home. That would get them to 9-1. And then at Oklahoma and at Arkansas. and I would probably say that's a split. And I think with a 10-2 record, Missouri would be in the playoffs. So there's a team that I think I can say pretty confidently. I mean, obviously they could lose any of those games, but certainly they could lose at Auburn and at Vandy, and I mean they could lose all these. I mean there is no really layup game in the SEC this year. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Kentucky, but not necessarily in Lexington. I don't think.
No, Kentucky even gave Ole Miss a little trouble, and
Yeah.
Ole Miss is looking like a great team this season.
Yeah. So there just really aren't any layups. Vanderbilt is certainly not a layup these days.
No, I agree. For me, I kind of look at Texas A&M. I think they're in a prime position. They have increased their offensive production from last season, and I think Elko. No matter what players are around him, he's kind of like the antithesis of Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel's going to be able to create any offense that's effective with the roster he has. Elko's going to be able to create a good defense with the roster and the players that he has around him. So I feel like if these other teams beat him up and he's able to beat, LSU on the road, that'd be a tough one. And they find themselves with only 2 losses. Let's say they lose to Texas and Missouri, and they don't go to the SEC championship game. That's a 10-2 team that beat Notre Dame. If Notre Dame still has a chance to make the playoffs, there's a legit conversation of, is Texas A&M going to be in the playoffs?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, they're favored in their next 4 games for sure, and they really need the Notre Dame game, the Notre Dame win to age well. They don't need Notre Dame losing in Fayetteville on Saturday.
No.
They do not need that. It's important for A&M important for A&M for Notre Dame to win out the rest of the season, and maybe even Utah State. They look like a much improved team under Bronco Mendenhall, and they've got Vandy this week. They're 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread. Maybe Utah State hangs in the Mountain West race. That would help A&M. All these little factors. And for Missouri, if Kansas, the only loss for Kansas is at Mizzou. If Kansas stays in that Big 12 race, that would be a good thing for them, because that's their only non-conference opponent.
And I think they can after they beat up on those Mountaineers. Had a pretty good win for them.
Yeah, and they've got the Bearcats coming to Lawrence this week, and I like the quarterback Brendan Sorsby a lot, but their stud All-American defensive tackle with one of the best name in college football, Dante Corleone, he is questionable for the Bearcats this week at Kansas.
Interesting. We had the Bearcats kind of near the bottom, kind of in a rebuild year for their program.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. And Scott Satterfield is probably going to be on his way out. I just love Brendan Sorsby, and I love his prop to go over 45.5 rushing yards on Saturday.
Okay, and then broadening it out to the entire country, what outside of FSU, because I think that's the easy answer, what team has really exceeded your expectations coming into the season?
I don't want to say Georgia Tech, because I had their win total over 7.5. I wish I bet them to win the ACC, but I didn't. FSU's the obvious one. I think TCU's looking pretty good. If we were, I know you wanted me to get out of the SEC, but obviously Mississippi State is one. I don't know that Texas Tech is such a surprise, because they spent they had their second best portal class, so I don't know that
spent $28 million on that roster.
Yeah, I don't think I can name them as that much of a surprise. I'll give you one, and we'll see how this goes this weekend, because I think they could give Ohio State fits. Washington's got a really good quarterback, and they've got some really good skill players.
Yes, they do.
So there's another one. USF, I know they got mauled by Miami, but, it's hard to be sky high 3 weeks in a row, especially a week after you go into the swamp and get such a major win, and then you got to go down to Miami the next weekend. And unfortunately, I mean, I would definitely put Syracuse in that boat, but unfortunately, Angeli's out for the season, and now Ricky Collins, the LSU transfer, really gets a chance to show what he can do. And by the way, Fran Brown was on my list, and he was on your list too.
Yeah.
But you had to realize he was on my list as well for the Gators.
No, I mean he's been coaching a masterclass of a couple of last games. Yeah, it just really stinks that his quarterback went out, and it looks like he's going to be out for the season. I mean, it's just
but he's
good.
13. He's 13-4 at Syracuse. That's not easy.
Yeah. All right, and now after that, let's get into our game picks for this week. So before we even get into these game picks, I think we can both agree that this slate of games, this exact weekend, is one of the many reasons why we love college football, because I think that this weekend is crucial in postseason and just regular season outlooks for some of these programs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you start to, get teams, separating from others in the conference standings. I mean, even tomorrow night, TCU at Arizona State is a monster game in the Big 12. I mean, all the SEC games are really important. We mentioned Notre Dame they don't have any more mulligans left at all. Indiana and Iowa. Iowa, if you're going to be a factor in the Big Ten, you need to stand your ground at home. And Indiana, are they going to? I mean, what a performance last week.
Yeah, are they going to keep it up? Like I was surprised at how aggressive that Kurt Cignetti has gotten in the play calling. It seems like his whole mentality coaching this season is completely different than last season.
Well, I think maybe he scolded himself for his conservative play calling in the Notre Dame game. I mean, what the hell was he doing there? And look, I have, Indiana played football for more than 100 years and only had won 9 games twice, and he started his tenure 10-0. So you can't be that critical of the guy. And I had him number 3 on my Gators list, by the way.
So our first game that we are going to give our pick for, Friday, 8 p.m., number 24 TCU is going to be at Arizona State. Would you like to go first on this game or me?
I'll let you go first, bud.
So I think Josh Hoover is legit, and this team behind Sonny Dykes, who did take TCU once to a national championship. Yes, he got destroyed, but he still has that veteran mind of getting his team actually to a national championship. It seems like this team under him is more developed and more of a veteran team than Arizona State is. TCU has already shown that they can win and win on the road against, they did it against TCU, or TCU did it against SMU and
North Carolina.
Yes, in North Carolina. SMU in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Were the away wins that they had. And they were pretty good wins, in my opinion. And when we look at Arizona State, Sam Leavitt, he really hasn't been able to connect with their biggest weapon, with Jordan Tyson, which is why they haven't really been this dominant as much as they should be this season. I know last season they barely won these games, and they fought to get to that Big 12 championship, but he's underperforming right now, getting him. And ASU needs this run game to win, but TCU has the 13th best run defense against opponents in rushing this season. And TCU is also no slouch against the pass with a top 15 interception defense. And how did Arizona State lose to Mississippi State? They turned it over 2 times. Jesus Gomez kicked the game winner last week, but I don't think TCU gives them the chance, and Jesus cannot save the Sun Devils this week.
Jesus Gomez is one of my heroes. He was the kicker for Eastern Michigan for many years. Eastern Michigan's in the MAC, and their coach Chris Creighton, I call him the underdog king. He coming into this year, as I get to my Eastern Michigan page, the last 40 games as an underdog, He was 30 and I'm sorry, as a road underdog, 30-10 against the spread.
Wow.
Since 2016. And Gomez made a couple of critical kicks for me through the years. I was so annoyed when I saw he transferred. But anyway, Eastern Michigan doesn't have the NIL funds. All their best players took off on them, and they're having a bad year. But so don't take that Underground King label to apply to this year. He's lacking talent. But anyway, just wanted to give a shout out to Jesus. I love the guy, left footer too. Man, this is a tough game here. Arizona State's playing their 5th game in 5 weeks, whereas TCU had an open date after the UNC game. So they, have got a little less wear and tear on their bodies. And ASU had they had a battle last week at Baylor. Man, it's just such a toss-up game to me. I had Baylor last week and I lost on them. So it makes me just want to stay away. But we might as well have a couple where we're going head to head, Nick. So I'll go ASU at home. They did go 6-0 at home last year. So let's see, they've won 8 in a row at home. So I'll go with the Sun Devils. But I like both teams. I think I like both teams, both quarterbacks. This is going to be a heck of a game. But just for conversation's sake, I'll go against Nick.
No, I definitely agree. This was a very, very tough pick to make, but I love Josh Hoover so much. I think he plays with a lot of swag, and I just love to see it. And if I'm sitting on that couch and I'm watching that game, I'm rooting for that guy over the Sun Devils.
Sure.
All right, next game, Saturday, 2:30 p.m., Auburn at number 9, Texas A&M. You got this one first or me?
I'll go first. So, if Cam Coleman gets 15 targets like he should, not only will Auburn cover, but they'll win outright. However, I highly doubt that he will get 15 targets. I mentioned the situational factors earlier that favor A&M. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. Auburn's coming off Heartbreak Hotel and a little pissed offness, if you will, with the officiating. And now they've got to go on the road again and a pretty decent trip west. So with those factors in mind, I got to go A&M to win. It's not going to be one of my bets, but in my contest where we have 25 specified games where I have to pick them with the spread, I did take A&M, and the sole reason was that just the situational factors. And I'm trying to think about the injury report last night. It didn't look too bad for Auburn. But again, if Auburn will target Cam Coleman 15 times, they'll win outright.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Auburn possibly having before preseason probably maybe the best wide receiver room in the SEC, or at least the most explosive. Well, Cam Coleman, right now, he is 92nd in receiving yards in the nation.
Wow.
Eric Singleton has yet to have a game over 70 passing yards, and they rank 104th in the nation on their passing attack.
And did you see Horatio Fields' injury yesterday?
No, I did not.
Yeah, Horatio Fields, the really good transfer from Wake Forest, had I don't know if they dubbed it season-ending foot surgery, but he's out for a long time and possibly for the whole season. Now, he's obviously he was like whatever WR4.
Yeah,
but I mean,
But a couple things with this offense too. I mean, Auburn's O-line, it kind of looked like our immigration policy the last couple of years after, they've allowed 16 sacks on the season, and they're going against the 23rd best sack defense at Texas A&M. Jackson Arnold, he's a better fit at Auburn, but this is probably something that Auburn fans don't want to say. He's currently on track to have about the same stats as Peyton Thorne last season, and the only thing that's better is he's not turning it over as much with interceptions, and his QBR is better. So that's not a stat that Auburn fans want to hear.
No, not at all. Now he has provided a lot in the run game, particularly in the game against Baylor, and I knew he could run it. I didn't know he could run it that good.
No.
But, and look, I don't want to blame him for last week because he was under a lot of heat, big time. But I think he's kind of getting a habit of fleeing the pocket maybe a little too early. Now, again, not I'm not getting on him for last week. He had to do what he had to do. But yeah, we'll see if he gets better protection tomorrow, and if he'll hang in the pocket and make some throws. And look, I mean, if you're sensing pressure, just throw it up to Cam Coleman, brother.
Yeah, no, that's what he needs to do. And Hugh Freeze, he really just needs this offense to complement the defense, because I just don't know how this defense, who's really is going to go up against, one of the top ranking offenses in the nation at Texas A&M. But I'm taking Texas A&M because I think they have the better offense, and they almost face we see Hugh Freeze face a defensive coordinator kind of head coach with Mike Elko, and I definitely like the direction that Elko is taking that Texas A&M program. And I think that they'll probably not get 8-4 again this season, because that's been the crutch the last couple of years, is going 8-4 for Texas A&M.
I had some stats. Elko. These are just some betting stats. Elko is 2-6 against the spread as a home favorite, and 0-2 this year. I'm pretty sure. And then during his tenure at Auburn, Hugh Freeze is 3-5 against the spread as a road underdog. So neither one of them have had a whole lot of against the spread success in this type of role.
Mm-hmm. And then Saturday at 2:30 p.m., number 1 Ohio State at Washington, the team that you said has exceeded your expectations. You want me to take this one on first?
Go ahead, buddy.
All right. This is going to be a way more interesting matchup and game than Ohio State versus Texas, because there's more of a competent quarterback matchup, yes, I feel, at this point. And when I say that, I mean Ohio State, Sayan has now games under his belt. He is going to be more comfortable. And Washington, they have an offense that is killer this season. But Washington is ranked number 1 in points for average, and Ohio State is the number 1 team, only allowing 5.6 points per game against this season. So that's a really cool stat that I am excited to watch. And what's the difference? I think it's going to be Julian Sayin. He has the ability to light up. I think he's going to light up the Washington defense, who statistically isn't the best against an Ohio State team like this. Washington on their defense allows 62% pass completions, allows 228.5 yards on average, and is in the bottom half statistically. And their opponents in the red zone are 100% against them. And Ohio State, against a pretty good Texas defense, was 1-1 in the red zone week 1 against them. But I think, to your credit, I think Washington has a great team. Damon Williams is a good quarterback and only has room to improve. And the roster will, for next season, be a lot better than this season. And I think that's when they would be able to win this game, is next season. But I think Ohio State suffocates them with the defense, and Sayin gets it done as he's had time to get comfortable and get experience under belt at center for Ohio State. So I've got the Buckeyes in this one.
Yeah. So I was trying to look and see what that spread is right now. Is it a night game?
No, it is at 2:30.
Okay. Why am I not seeing it here?
We typically do our pick'ems in order of time, but because this slate is so good, I decided to go in opinion, the best two.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. It's the next to the last listed. Okay. Right now it is 8.5 at most books. I will take Ohio State to win, but I think Washington will cover. Williams, 6 touchdown passes without an interception, and so that gives him a career TDI-INT ratio of 14-1, which is absolutely outstanding, and he can run it as well. Last year, 282 yards and 2 touchdowns running it, and this year he has 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6.5 yards per carry average. What's that total? Oh, it's 52.5, huh?
Oh, Brian likes something over here.
I'm thinking my head spinning here. I'm thinking of an over maybe, but I know Ohio State's got a good defense. but Ohio State's got a good offense as well.
Yes, they do.
And Texas has got a really good defense that limited them to 14. I would lean over and lean Washington plus 8.5, but I don't think this is going to make my cut of bets this weekend. But if I had to pick it, I would do Washington in the over.
Okay. And then now we go to Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Number 11, win Deanna, as some people like to say, at Iowa. Probably the team that's always known for their defense, and that's probably about it these days.
Yeah, that is true. So as a home underdog in the last decade, Iowa is 4-4 against the spread. Now, Indiana on the road last year, they only played 4 true road games. They went 3-1 straight up, and 3-1 both straight up and against the spread. So the only outright loss and non-cover was the 38-15 setback at the team that eventually won it and was ranked second at the time. Indiana was ranked 5th at the time, but the 38-15 was a little misleading. Remember, Ohio State got like a 70-yard punt return for a touchdown, and then they also blocked a punt, or maybe it was just a bad snap by Indiana and got tackled, set them up like 1st and goal inside the 5. So basically, Indiana handed Ohio State 2 special teams touchdowns in that game. So I think Indiana wins. In terms of covering, that's tough. Because I said this last week, Illinois was one of my picks last week, and I said I'm playing with fire going against Curt Cignetti because I had never gone against him. All last season. I probably bet on them 7 or 8 times successfully. I did not bet on them against Ohio State, and then I did bet on them against Notre Dame, which they didn't cover the pregame line, but I had bet on them when they were down 27-3, a live line, like plus 15 or so. So it ended up being okay for me there. Like if I was a student and, the teacher would have told me Sunday morning or Monday morning to go to the chalkboard and write 100 times, don't bet against Curt Cignetti ever again. So therefore I will say Indiana covers.
Yeah, I think this may be the easiest game to choose, which is hard to say. Even though Iowa's defense is awesome against the run, this Indiana team averages around over 300 yards rushing per game. Iowa is also good against the pass, but they don't have the turnover ratio, and Mendoza has yet to make a mistake. And then when we're looking at Iowa and their quarterback, Gronowski, he has not been the electric player that he was in the FCS, and his transition to Division I is not really going that well. And I think it's because of the offensive scheme that they have set in Iowa. I don't think he fits it well, or they're not utilizing his potential as they should. Kirk Ferentz really, like I said, isn't going to evolve the offense. And I mean, they did well against a unranked Rutgers, but this is not an unranked Rutgers. This Indiana offense, they're ranked in the top 10 for points, yards, and yards per play on offense. This is too much for Iowa's defense to handle, and I think Curt Cignetti probably runs the score up again.
Yeah, I don't. It's not going to get as ugly as last week, but yeah, I'm thinking, win by 17.
Yeah, no,
You're thinking more than that.
I'm thinking like 21.
Okay.
I think he's trying to put together a solid resume and tell everyone, shut up. We're here.
Yeah, and he wants to move up the rankings. He's got an open date next week before he plays at Oregon, their only trip west, and they'll eventually have to go at Penn State. I think they got to go at Maryland when Maryland has 2 weeks to prepare. Now, Maryland's about to have a lot tougher opponents, but maybe I should have, not to like be a Big Ten or playoff factor, but maybe I should give some flowers to Mike Locksley. He does have a good freshman quarterback, and they're 4-0, and they went to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's bad, but they beat the mud out of them as a relatively healthy underdog. So that's one team that's been a bit of a surprise, but not too much into the future.
Yeah. And then that takes us to Saturday at 3:15 p.m. Number 15 Tennessee at Mississippi State.
I just haven't had a good feel for this game at all. I think Tennessee wins outright. but I picked Mississippi State to cover in my contest. I still think Tennessee is very much a national title contender, but this is Joey Aguilar's first SEC road start, and a big game for Mississippi State, especially coming off the type of year that they had last year, where they've got a lot of excitement going on right now. And imagine if this offense had Mario Craver and Kevin Coleman too. I mean, what if they had those two guys? Because those two guys are having fantastic years at Mizzou and A&M, but their passing game's working just fine without them. This should be a fun game, and I'm not against the total's so high. I would, if it was in the 50s, I'd be playing the over. But this game's a pass for me. But like I said, for conversation purposes, the line's down to 7.5 at most books. I'll take Tennessee to win, but Mississippi State to cover.
See, I think that this is I know Mississippi State shocked Arizona State, but I think that the Arizona State team is just not as good as some of these SEC teams. I think Tennessee coming into this game, this is the perfect SEC team for them to play next. I think that Mississippi State, yes, they're 4-0, but I don't think that record will hold up as well, unless they win this game and then their season ceiling completely changes.
Yes.
But I think this could be the beginning of their slow decline of their season outlook. And I think I'm going with Tennessee because I just think Aguilar and Heupel are just going to put on a clinic again. And I don't think this will be close unless Mississippi State is effectively able to slow the game down and limit Tennessee's offensive possessions.
Yeah, but they're not going to be looking to slow it down. They're going to be looking to air raid attack most of the way. I mean, look, maybe they will try to run it more than they normally do, but I mean, that's just kind of their game is throwing the ball. I think the biggest key for Mississippi State is win the turnover battle. Don't commit turnovers and get you one or two. If Mississippi State can be +2 in turnover margin, they could be in business.
Okay, and then now we've got only 1, 2, 3. We got 4 games left, and these are marquee matchups that we got going. This first one is Saturday, 11 a.m. Number 21 USC against number 23 Illinois.
You go first.
All right. Now, I think this is there's a lot of emotions riding on this game for me. It's the biggest toss-up, I think, in this whole slate this weekend, and that's saying something with what we have. USC, they're trying to propel their season and recruiting track because right now they're currently number 1 in recruiting for next season, so they definitely need to keep that momentum going. And on the other side of the ball, Illinois is trying to get their season back on track after getting absolutely mollywopped by Indiana. And Illinois faces a really deadly USC offense, being top 5 in scoring and yards in a game. And really, the Illinois defense has been anything but stellar when it comes to allowing offensive yards. At the beginning of this season, I had Illinois going 10-2 this season, making the playoffs, and Brett Bielema winning Coach of the Year.
Well, I was right there with you.
But the numbers tell me that, and I hate to say this because last week I was riding high on the Illinois, but I think USC wins this game, and I think that the offense is going to give a lot of pressure against Illinois' defense that they can't handle, and the USC defense is going to be effective in getting quarterback pressure against Illinois because against Indiana, Illinois did terrible in quarterback, allowing their quarterback time to sit in the pocket and just tackles for loss. It was abysmal.
So as you see right there, I wrote down 8-2 with 2 swing games. I bet their season win total over 8.5 at plus money. And I had the 2 swing games being at Duke, which I eventually bet on Illinois -3 in that game. And then the other one being at Wisconsin, which we know is probably going to be a W because Wisconsin's it might be on an interim coach at that point as well. Although I think he's got a pretty big buyout. as well. You know, I just don't even know what to think of that Illinois result last week. I mean, I just don't even know. But I will tell you this: USC, its last 9 as a road favorite. They're 1-8 against the spread. Illinois is a home dog under Belima, 5-5 against the spread. Gosh, I don't even. I wish we had the Big Ten injury report, but it doesn't come out till a couple hours before the game on Saturday. I don't know how bad Illinois got beat up last week. Yeah, so I've just got all kind of questions on this game. So I'm not going to give a pick against the spread. I'm going to say that USC gets the W.
Okay. And then Saturday at 2:30 p.m., number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss. And this game last year was wild. I think we were both at McTie's for this game, possibly.
Was this the 55-49 game?
No, it was in overtime.
Oh no, the 29-26. Yeah,
yes,
I was thinking the last one in
yes.
Oxford is what I was thinking.
And this game was wild. And you got this game first. Your pick or me?
Oh, your call. You go ahead if you want.
All right, I'll go. Unless you wanted to talk about Lane Kiffin and his daughter dating Whit Weeks, the LSU linebacker,
and the accompanying tweet that came with that.
Yes, take the over. Will you be in fact taking the over?
Well, I made it clear on Twitter earlier this week that I'm taking the over. I like where Lane's head is at, but I'm not taking it because of what he said. So the last 5 head-to-head meetings between these teams since Kiffin arrived, the over-unders have been 75.5, 75.5 again, 66.5, 66.5 again, and 64. So at 55.5, which is what it was earlier today, as I'm looking for it now. Oh, looks like it. Oh, wow. It's up to 56.5. See, I've already bet it at 54.5. So that's okay with me. Gosh, I said on the radio today, I would like it up to 56 because that's a multiple of 7 and a key number on a total. So I don't know that I want to recommend it at 56.5. And so I'll just shift gears, or I'll finish saying what. So the over's 3-1 for Ole Miss. The under's 3-1 for LSU. But Clemson and Florida aren't scoring a whole lot of touchdowns lately. So I'm still not sold on LSU's defense. And Florida moved the ball up and down the field on them. Had 23 first downs, 366 yards. They just got the 5 interceptions, which is credit to them on that. But Ole Miss is the best offense LSU has faced by far. So anyway, that's why I like the over. But I'm also I like Ole Miss as well, and I like Trinidad Chambliss a lot. He's 42 of 62, 67.7%, 719 yards, 4 touchdowns without a pick, and 195 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry. And, I think Lane's got 2 guys that he can win with now. I still like Austin Simmons, but until Chambliss falters or they lose, you have to ride the hot hand, and Chambliss is QB1 in Oxford, as far as I'm concerned, but I don't have a say in it. But I like Ole Miss. Lay in the 1 or 1.5, or if you want to go money line, -125. And I also liked the over. 56.5 is kind of getting up there though.
All right. I'm kind of we're thinking the same on all these picks, and I promise that we did not discuss our picks before this. But I think that this LSU team, like you said, the teams that the quote unquote good teams that they have played. I don't think that they're that good. I think that this team is waiting to implode. And I think this is the game that happens. The LSU defense, like you said, they haven't played a quarterback that can actually run and in Chambliss and who can also disperse the ball anywhere. They have 5 different receivers with over 125 receiving yards and 5 different wide receivers with touchdowns on the season already. Now, I think the biggest stat that will determine this game and the winner is against LSU and Ole Miss is offense on 3rd downs for the Ole Miss offense and the inverse for the LSU offense. Because the LSU offense has been subpar this season on third downs. And I wish Brian Kelly answered that question. Well, how about third downs? Well, I'm not. It ticked me off. But Garrett Nussmeier is not good. And if you don't want to agree with me that he's not good, what do you think about Cade Klubnik?
Not good this year.
Not good. What do you think about Malik Murphy at Oregon State?
He had his moments at Duke last year. I haven't really watched any of Oregon State. I know he's got talent, but I don't know how he's really played much. I know they scored 7 against Oregon last week.
Well, both of them have more passing yards than Garrett Nussmeier on the season, and Nussmeier is 72nd in the top 100 for quarterback rating this year.
Wow. Yeah. LSU's offense is struggling. I think part of it's O-line. And yeah, they've just been struggling.
Yeah, no, and he had and we put all this blame on Carson Beck and said he had terrible stats last season. He was a bad quarterback. Well, if you go back and look at Garrett Nussmeier's stats, they're almost identical. And we said Garrett Nussmeier was going to be leaps and bounds better than him this season.
Right.
But they say keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Sure.
And well, Lane's got his daughter closer to the LSU linebacker room more than anyone else in this country. And I think this Ole Miss team wins. And the edge is Lane's play calling on third down.
And his play calling all around. I like
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's why I want him to be my Gator coach. And I'll add that although LSU's won 7 of the last 9 in this rivalry, they've lost both of their last 2 trips to Oxford.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I really wish this was the game of our pick for game of the week, because if Alabama didn't lose to FSU, it probably would have been game day and it would have been our game of the week. But Saturday, 6:30 p.m., number 7 team, Alabama, my Crimson Tide, are going to be at number 5, Georgia.
Wait, time out. Did you say Alabama's number 17?
Number 17, my man.
Where is that, in the AP?
Yep, the absolutely preposterous poll.
Yeah, they're number 10 in my rankings.
Okay.
Just so your audience
knows.
knows.
You're making me a lot happier now, because I got a friend that's Georgia Tech, and I told him, I said, okay, it was cool. It was cute, your little run, but you shouldn't be ranked ahead of us. And it's absolutely preposterous. And that's why we call the AP poll the absolutely preposterous poll.
And I know I said this. I hope I didn't say this on the air. I know we were talking about it before we came on. Like my rankings are different. Like I make them as if Nick's got 20 grand in his pocket and he's coming to gamble and I'm the bookie and these teams are playing on a neutral field. And I make my rankings like who's going to be favored over whom on a neutral field if I got to take the bet. So let's say they're playing in Omaha, Nebraska, and you come up to me and who's favored between Oregon and Penn State on a neutral. Like Penn State's favored by 3.5 right now at home, with Oregon coming across the country. You want me to give him my top 5 or top 10?
Yeah, give us your top 10.
Okay, I've got 1. Ohio State. Now, all these teams have flaws. None of these teams are, I think, head and shoulders above by any means. Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Penn State 3, Georgia 4, Miami 5, LSU 6, Tennessee 7, Texas 8, Oklahoma 9, and Bama 10, and then Mizzou 11.
Last one out in that top 10. So you're telling me that it seems like you're going to be favoring the Bulldogs in this game?
Well, it's not on a neutral field, but it's at home. So yeah, I made Georgia a 3.5 point favorite, and they're either 2.5 or 3 point favorite right now. Looks like I'm looking at it right here. It looks like FanDuel's got 2.5, and everybody else seems to have 3.
All right. Now, so you're picking Georgia, or you want me to go and attack this?
You go ahead.
All right. So Alabama, they're great at pressuring the opposing quarterbacks, but they cannot get the sacks this season. That is something that has shown me in this game. And everyone may say, oh, we did great against Wisconsin sacking them. That Wisconsin O-line is severely injured and had a different O-line those first two weeks before, and a different one when they came to Tuscaloosa. So that negates that stat. But one stat I do like to see is that Ty Simpson has yet to throw any interceptions this season, and Georgia's defensive pressure has been lacking a little bit this season. So the more time that Ty Simpson has means that I feel like he has more time to get deadly throws. But Alabama in these road environments, their offense, and when it comes to defense getting a little rough and rowdy, is really undisciplined when it comes to penalties. I mean, under DeBoer, the penalty numbers are absurd. It's depressing almost. I mean, we shoot ourselves in the foot before we even, our foot's already gone by the time we've shot it enough. But Alabama gets Jam Miller back, and I will lose all love and admiration for Kalen DeBoer if we do not attempt to establish a run game, because that is something we have yet to do under DeBoer. And then when we get to Georgia has I believe, 33 home win streak currently going, and Alabama last season, every loss that they had were away or at a neutral site. Last season.
Do you know the last team that beat them there? I'm guessing. I think I know, and I know it's one of these two teams. Do you know the answer?
The 2015 Jake Coker team, or
I think it was Vanderbilt.
With
17-16, Zach Cunningham made an open field tackle. It was either on Sony Michel or on Nick Chubb on a 4th and 1. Or maybe the game you had on earlier, or maybe the Hail Mary from Dobbs. I think that was in 15 also.
Yes.
I think I might have all that on my Georgia page here, because that's another good thing about the Phil Steele mag. It's got 10 years of results going back. Oh wait, it only has 5 years of game by game results. That's right. Doggone it. Anyhow, we have to look that up. Sorry, but I cut you off. Go ahead.
But this Georgia team, like they're playing right now to win with the personnel that they have, and they've shown us that they're gonna. It almost seems like they're gonna play to their competition, but they're still going to beat their competition, and they have their secondary has really been able to give fits against these high-powered passing quarterbacks. But they also have plenty of pass interference fouls to go along with it when it came up in crucial situations, like we saw in that Tennessee game. But I'm a very cautiously optimistic Alabama fan. This is do or die for Kalen DeBoer. This is a game where I hope and pray that Alabama will limit the penalties, spread the ball around to different receivers, and run, and have the same energy that kind of crept into the Georgia game against Tennessee, where it's been like, God, I mean, can we ever catch a break against this team? And I think if this one gets close near the end, I think Bama comes out on top, because there has been rumors and everything that Kalen DeBoer has been a little bit more volatile in his rhetoric, and he's been taking things a lot more seriously, because I think he knows it's about to be getting a little hot on that little tushy of his in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jam Miller's return. I'm not sure if, or maybe you did mention Keenan coming back is also, he's coming back, right?
Okay. Keenan,
the D tackle.
Yeah, Sab or no?
I didn't think
maybe.
I didn't think he was on the injury report last night.
No, I just wanted to talk about Jam Miller because he's been missing for.
Oh, you're just saying that you didn't hit on him. Well, I'm pretty sure your preseason All-American defensive tackle Tim Keenan is back as well. I'll have to double check that on the injury report, but that's another big factor. And then I'll throw out one. Well, obviously we know Alabama has beaten Georgia 9 out of the last 10, and they would have beaten them in all 10 if Jameson Williams hadn't blown his knee there late first quarter, early second, because he was dominating that game, and Alabama was out to a nice lead. And he might have scored on the play he got hurt, and then y'all had to, I think y'all settled for a field goal and might have even missed it. But and then Mechie had gotten hurt when y'all beat the brakes off him 3 or 4 weeks prior. But as a home favorite under Kirby, Georgia's only 19-34-1 against the spread. Now, obviously, a lot of those numbers were way, way bigger than this number of 3. This is the first road dog situation for DeBoer, but in his 6 road games, 2-4, both straight up and against the spread. So, did you pick the game?
Yeah, I picked my Tide. I'm going with the Tide.
I hear you. I don't have a lot of confidence in this game. They're begging you to take Georgia with the way the spread is, being at home, and some books even moving to 2.5 because it was 3.5 early in the week. Until we see differently, you told me about the language on this show, so I'm just going to say that Georgia is still Alabama's little girl. So I'll go Alabama as well.
There we go. Roll Tide, baby. And then we've got the heavy hitting game, our game of the week, Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Number 6 Oregon's is going into a whiteout at Beaver Stadium against number 3 Penn State. This is going to be an awesome game. I can just say that.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So you want to go first?
Sure. So I think both of these teams, this is both teams' first real showcase of talent, because Oregon didn't really play anyone. Who'd they play? Oh yeah, they played Mike Gundy on his way out, 69-3,
right.
And a Northwestern team that did give them a little fits early in that game, and
Oregon State and Montana State.
Yeah. Oh, watch out.
Right. But a toned down version of Oregon State was good that year. They had DJU that last season before Jonathan Smith went to Sparty, but not no more.
No, but this is going to be the real test of what these teams are made of and what they look like moving forward. And both of these guys, they're not good against top 10 opponents. Both of them aren't. Franklin is 4-20 against top 10 opponents, and Dan Lanning, he's 4-4 against top 10 opponents. So both of these guys have that proverbial monkey on their back that they are trying to shake off. Yeah, Dan Lanning had all of the momentum going into the playoffs, but no one cares unless you win the last game of the season. And yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oregon is coming in with a young team with the mentality to win the game. Franklin is going to coach this game like he always does when it comes to the red zone, and they're going to play not to lose. But I think the biggest factor in this game is that Penn State has Jim Knowles on the sideline as the defensive coordinator, who has experience against Oregon and more veteran quarterbacks last season when he was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State and helped them go to a national championship. Overall, Oregon is a dynamic team who has made the transition to Big Ten better than I personally thought. But I think that the redone roster isn't experienced enough yet compared to last season's squad at this time of the season. So I think Penn State, this team wins because they have to, and they will get the ball last and will win the game because of what they know with the last possession.
Yeah, and Penn State's got a situational advantage in that they had last week off to get healthy and, 2 weeks of preparation for the Ducks, whereas the Ducks are playing their 5th game in 5 weeks, and then the Ducks got to travel across the country. I'm not too sure about Dante Moore. He's played really well against these cupcake opponents, but I don't know that I trust him on the road. But I also know what was the record for Franklin against the top 10? Like 4 and
a top 10. I said 4-20.
Okay,
and then top 5 is
1-18. Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 1-18 against top 5. So with all that said, and I'll also throw this out as a underdog at Oregon. Dan Lanning is 3-1 against the spread, and I think at least 2 of those were wins, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, wait. No. I'm sorry. I'm missing one on a neutral field to Georgia. So it's actually 3-2 against the spread. And they definitely weren't all wins because I see another one, a cover against Washington in 23 that was only a spread cover. So forget those numbers. Sorry, guys. But anywho, until James Franklin wins a big game, I will go with Lanning and the Ducks. But I don't say it with much confidence, and it's not going to be one of my bets this weekend.
Interesting. So that gives you all of our game picks for this slate.
Which ones do we head up against? The first one and the last one?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
I got Oregon. You got Penn State. And
yes,
what was the other one?
TCU and Arizona State. But I like to go with the saying, great minds think alike.
There you go.
And so with the end of our game picks, we've got our final closing category of Thursday, who we think is in the Heisman hype seat. We gave our nominations last week, but I think Fernando Mendoza is in the media's kind of hype seat. He is kind of, everyone's watching him and what he does against this Iowa State defense and how he handles that and if he throws an interception. But that's who I have going in my Heisman hype seat. Would you like to throw a name?
Sure. You talking about like who from last week?
Yeah.
So, when Mateer got hurt, Mendoza moved all the way down to plus 650. He's up to plus 850 for casuals. That means if you want to risk 100, you would win 850. But Carson Beck's kind of made a move. He's 12-1, although he didn't have the best game against Florida, obviously. So, I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, Fernando Mendoza is the guy, but I'll throw out a couple others just to not be boring because I got the Haynes King at 90-1. He's down to 25-1. Diego Pavia was 150-1. I just didn't think they were going to win enough games. And by the way, oh, wow, Trinidad Chambliss was 50-1. Now he's down to 33-1. So Diego Pavia is down to 30-1, and he might have a stat game against Utah State. And then he obviously gets a Bama. But, the one to watch for this week, the one that might make a move, I think, is Damon Williams. If he can orchestrate an upset, he's 40-1.
Yes.
If they were to win outright and he has a monster game, he would be sitting at 15-1 on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But no, you nailed the main one in Mendoza, but a little bit of Trinidad Chambliss as well. Because I guarantee, when I did the pod on Wednesday, he was 50-1. He's gone to 33-1 in like 27, 28 hours.
That's wild. Yeah. That's wild. Before we do our outro, where can everyone follow you on all the socials and everywhere, Brian?
Yeah, so on Twitter is really my main one. My handle, if that's what they call it, just the word Vegas, my first initial B, and then my last name Edwards. So Vegas B Edwards. I didn't create that. I had never heard of Twitter in 2009. I got an email from the boss. He's like, everybody create a Twitter account. You're going to use Vegas because I was working for Vegas Insider. Vegas first initial, last name. That's your handle. So Vegas B Edwards. That's where I'm at on Twitter. And I'm pretty sure my DMs are open. And you can find my writing on Major Wager and my picks on Vegas Insider. But if you want to hit me up on Twitter, I will, work out a deal with whoever on picks. Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Of
Nick,
course.
It's been fun, man.
Yeah, no, it's been a blast. We'll throw all of those up on the screen. We'll put them in the description below for the video. Sunday, we will have our recap episode for week 5. Thank all of you for watching. I'm Nick Watts, and we'll see you next time when we take college football under review.